Alright, hello and welcome to another Why Would You Use. So, today we're going to be talking about the Kohm. We probably should have talked about the Kohm a while ago, because it's a really solid shotgun. It needs a little bit more work than I might want for it to get to where it goes, but it's pretty solid overall. So, the build I'm generally going to be using on the Kohm is going to be this. This is pretty much like what you would normally expect. A lot of raw damage. I'm focusing on corrosive. Blaze is obviously in here because of that damage increase. And I'm using shotgun spaz. Shotgun spaz is not normally used on shotguns, but in the Kohm's case, the Kohm has a specific issue where it needs to ramp up. This helps it ramp up very, very quickly. And besides that, the big downside to the Kohm is the ramp up. So fixing that problem with the fire rate mod is very, very desirable. So for me, personally, Shotgun Spaz is very much a no-brainer in this weapon, and it fixes the big problem with it. Beyond that, though, this build just does a lot of damage, and some people I've seen using a build like this with a nano applicator, but even though this gets you to 100% status before Hell's Chamber, I just don't think it's that viable, because in a lot of scenarios where you're casting this much, there's just not, the scenarios don't really line up for nano applicator for the Kohm, but it's fine. We'll show a kind of comparison between something like this versus what I normally use at the end, and the kill times really aren't that different, even against a foe where all this is working to its advantage. So first, let's show our normal test. This thing will rip through the normal test pretty easily, although I will say that this arena is really not built for what the Kohm is best at. The Kohm has innate punch through, which really, really helps it in long hallways with tons of enemies, and given its large ammo capacity and its ability to fire for a long, long time, means you can push a lot of damage down a hallway. And because you can stay ramped in a hallway, enemies just keep filtering in and they die and die and die the moment they walk into your ramped up fire. So this is obviously going to be slightly below what the Kohm can usually do in a lot of maps if you're picking your positioning right. That being said, it doesn't have much trouble with this. All the shotgun classification weapons are really strong, and you can see some of the punch through getting through there. And kind of a bad position. And you can see that ramp persists a little bit from target to target. Good damage. Once you're ramped, he's out of the AoE of his friend. Ramped up damage will take care of some problems. Nope. And we just need to take care of these ancients. Which, its range is not terrible, but it does have a relatively severe fall off, considering we're versing it up against things like the Heck and the Tigers, which have very little fall off, or very little noticeable fall off because of their very, very high damage. The fall off is a little bit more something you'll feel coming from this weapon. Besides that, I think we got all these enemies. I don't think any of them survived. Pretty sure they're all dead. Yeah, performs pretty solidly, even in a situation like that where it's not matched very well. And then finally, we're going to show just two heavy gunners. I am going to crowd control them because obviously my skill is not really built to them. At level 145, so you can see like the comparison of the kill times between this without the 100% status build and this with it. They're pretty similar, which is kind of to the decry of the 100% status build. Because once this thing's ramped up, you're going to kick out a lot of damage. So even at level 145, like, you're still kicking out, like, a good amount of status, and you're doing damage still. It's still very good. Obviously, my build is a corrosive-focused build, so the status procs I'm getting are weighted towards that. And besides that, going through armor with the Kohm, because you have so much slash when you're getting those other procs, it's more weighted towards that. So it's pretty well-suited to fight armor kind of regardless, but it's pretty strong this way. This way, it is slightly stronger against these opponents because they have so much armor and it's able to strip it so fast because of the 100% status, obviously. But it's not as much of an increase as you would want for taking away your ability to not ADS, first of all, and for having to cast an ability every 8 or so seconds. With that, it's just a little bit too restrictive for most builds, although I'm sure some of you will find a use for a build like this. In most cases, it's probably not going to help you. So obviously, you're going to see their armor go away very, very fast. Cast again. The kill times just aren't that different. Like, it's a bit faster, but for what it's asking of the player, I just don't think it's that worth it. And you're going to lose damage on unarmored enemies. So if you're fighting like the corrupted or whatnot, you're going to have troubles with other enemies sooner than you're going to have trouble with armor. And in general, it's going to be better to go with a viral version of the first build, and just everyone brings corrosive projection to deal with that stuff. And then the Kohm is going to work just fine. But yeah, I don't really think that applying Nano Applicator is a hugely good idea. Also, this mod's really hard to access for the very, very little niche thing it gives you. However, of course, because Nano Applicator works like this, the Kohm has a favorable Riven disposition. So if you were to get a Riven for this because you really like the Kohm, you can make a 100% status Kohm relatively easily, since all you'd really be looking for would be status, and you could do some like interesting things with this. This is one of the very, very few weapons that Rivens can actually help, because you can push it about the level where you might find a Vacor Heck if you have like an amazing Riven somehow, which I don't think a lot of people are looking for with a Kohm. So those of you that really like it might actually be able to get some use out of it. But yeah, that's the Kohm. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's got a really good sound.